Today we are talking about a team that is pretty bad, but still use their aura to build a genuine group of fans behind them by giving the community a true essence of what Overwatch is supposed to be. So, as you may know, maybe not, Japanese Overwatch is a strange beast. Not many people have paid attention to it outside of the most hardcore of hardcore competitive fans. An underdeveloped region will create bizarre turnouts in comparison to Korea, Europe, and North America. Viral is the only team that's considered good from the region, but as we saw from the recent Asia LAN, Japanese player quality isn't up to snuff compared to the rest of the world. They just got completely dominated. This, of course, does not mean it can't be fun to watch them, especially with our group of gamers here, Namakuji brothers, or Slug brothers as some would call them, showing people, even when you're playing in a weak region and not performing well, fans can still be farmed. Instead of playing a comp worth a damn, these guys played around a Roadhog mainly, who at this point in time was not really a viable hero. He was just ass. Sometimes we got to see some Doom play, but Roadhog was the #1 factor here. Alongside Nozzle was his squadron, playing primarily Hanzo, Echo, Lifeweaver, and Zen. Essentially a team comp that you wouldn't see at this level of play, but Champion Series is Tier 1 now, and what you're looking at is actually being played in an official Tier 1 Japan match. Of course, the entirety of this region wasn't playing meta at the time, or at least what Korea considered meta. Japan would sometimes play Orisa, especially into Namakuji. They'd play Ball or other random shit. Why? Well, Japan Overwatch, I guess. Obviously, experimentation finding a style can go haywire, but usually not to the degree of Namakuji brothers. This weird-ass comp was expected to lose since it just sucks. After the changes of Hanzo not being able to one-shot anymore, Lifeweaver is Lifeweaver, and Roadhog is just so easy to counter in a controlled setting unless he's running rampant like 2020 playoffs. You can just tear him apart so easily, especially when the brothers wouldn't even play Kiri in the beginning with the Hog, which seems to be a no-brainer. Apparently, they just had so much confidence in Nozzle to level out the battlefield, he doesn't even need a Suzu. At least he had the Lifeweaver to pull him away if things got too hairy, I guess. They could also try to hook someone and have CC2 shoot them with Hanzo for an easy kill. There's not really much they can do with it. It's a very individualistic, greedy comp with barely any synergy. If fights last too long, they will just end up falling over, and I honestly think their win condition for the most part was just get in and hope the other team dies before you do. You don't need to be a brainiac to realize this comp sucks in the grand scheme of Overwatch. Roadhog was never really used in competitive play for a reason. Does that mean Namakuji Brothers cares about that? No, not at all. The first 2 matches are not really worth talking about. They weren't close in the slightest, just complete blowouts. Most expected this, but at least Namakuji had a unique style, so the matches weren't entirely boring, even though they were getting rolled. But when Namakuji got into their 3rd series though, they took a map, and then another map, then finally dumpstering Nyam Gaming in the final push map. And this is the win we all wanted to see, the beginning of Namakuji Brothers' path of chaos. Nyan Gaming was a bottom team, sure, but so was Namakuji. At least after this win, they solidified themselves as not the worst team. Even with this weird comp, Namakuji was still better than someone else. They were improving slowly day by day at this Roadhog comp. Even though Viral and 6blow annihilated them in the first 2 matches, that's honestly expected. Those are the 2 best teams in Japan. But the brothers had confidence in themselves to make this Roadhog filth actually work, so they kept grinding it out and also didn't have much of a choice, which we'll get to shortly. In the case of Nyan Gaming though, that team seemed to have no answer against this clown show. Unfortunately, this victory was short-lived. Pandia was not going to submit and bend the knee to the Namakuji brothers, even to the point of egoing them, mirroring the infamous comp, which at this point was solidified to Roadhog, Hanzo, Echo, with the backline being changed around occasionally, but it was mainly Lifeweaver and Zen. This map was entertaining as hell to witness. Somehow the aura of Namakuji brothers is so strong they are sucking other teams down to join them. Unfortunately, they lost the mirror match. I can't believe the brothers actually let someone beat them at their own comp, but they did. It was more competitive than any other map before it, sure. It's just unacceptable. Namakuji Brothers was now 1-3 in matches, 0-1 in the mirror, yet people were still anticipating their games to come, presumably hoping for these mirror matches, which in their next game against Ravati, these guys bit down on the cookie and decided to toss their hat in the ring, mirroring the Namakuji Brothers. This map was yet again close, but I guess this is what happens when you take the other team off of a real team comp and bring them down to whatever under a rock world Namakuji is in. It makes it a level playing ground where somehow Namakuji lost again at their own team comp. It doesn't even matter the team overall was 1-4. No one cares about that. They are now 0-2 where it matters, losing the mirror match. After watching these first few games, I stopped and thought to myself, I don't really know if this team is taking this stage as seriously as a lot of other teams. Clearly it seemed Namakuji was just happy to be here, because typically you'd be trying to find a way to improve, like what can you do to get more value, possibly changing up a hero if it's not working. The 1-4 speaks for itself. The Roadhog obviously is not working, but apparently no matter the results, they just wanted to make it work, which gained a lot of respect from the Overwatch village. And the biggest question here is, of course, why Roadhog out of all heroes? What is so special about this land monster? At this point, he was dog shit, and also this team comp. Why is the only question we had. Well, Nozzle's just a Roadhog one trick. It took a ton of digging to figure this out, and obviously not many people know about the Japanese Overwatch scene or their players. There's of course Tayo, who I'm sure most are familiar with. But once you learn the story of Nozzle and lore of this team, it really makes you question reality. Nozzle is a fucking gamer. When his infamous picture circulated where he's playing on this little ass desk right here in a small room, just add a little bit of Cheeto dust and mysterious white and yellow stains and you have your average Reddit commenters room. Like, this is actually a hotel room with a laptop, plug-in keyboard, and under like 8 inches of space to move his mouse. What else could you add on to this legendary Namakuji Brothers story? Is there anything else that hasn't been unveiled yet? We have Nozzle, who is a Roadhog one trick, who made it up to the Champion Series World, where we then later found out, thanks to an article written by Lionel or Giant Omelette, Nozzle was working a full-time job while staying at this hotel for a work trip, where the win against Nyan Gaming actually took place. He got his first win playing from that jail cell. Like, imagine getting dominated by that. You found out you just lost to that. Someone playing in that room, that little ass room, while also playing a non-optimal team comp that sucks with Lifeweaver and Hanzo, who at this point were just garbage, losing match after match, barely even taking maps. Like, the whole team is a clown show. But people still kept wanting to watch. Some only cared to see this team play during the Japanese broadcast and would not care at all about anyone else. We also learned from the same article that this team was designed to take the best one tricks they could find and battle it out against the meta slaves. Quote, "The reason we formed this team is because we want to gather Japan's top-level talented one-trick players to win over the meta composition teams. This is what we need in the Champion Series scene. Teams don't need to be a Team Falcons or Crazy Raccoons, a 2021 Shanghai Dragons to farm fans. People love stories, auras, and chaos. This team is like watching an ongoing train wreck, but give me more, please. It's pure entertainment." At the end of the day, that's what Overwatch Champion Series or even Overwatch League was. Entertainment. Of course the competition matters, seeing the best of the best teams, but stuff like this stands out and creates a very enjoyable viewing experience. Watching this removes you from the pure competitive mindset. Like, obviously these guys are trying to win, they aren't throwing. Namakuji is just playing a one-trick style the community found fun and engaging, and clearly the players were having fun with it too. You obviously can't have an entire group of teams filled with ones like Namakuji Brothers, but for the lower-end teams that won't be able to defeat the higher-end ones, like, just fuck it. Except you can't defeat the Toronto Defiance or Crazy Raccoons of the world, and do this. A large problem with bad teams from Overwatch League is they would just play the meta most of the time, like people coined Washington Justice as entertainment thieves for a reason. I get sometimes there's no choice or there is no time to experiment. 2022 playoffs is a perfect example of that. You had to play this comp right here. All the normies weren't very happy. If you check any of the match's comment sections, they all say, I can't wait to watch another match of Kiriko, Lucio, Sojourn, Reaper, and Winston, or some variation of that, because they don't really understand what's happening here. Like, when the game is in this position that you're seeing right now, they will lose if they don't play this. That's why they're playing it. Kiriko was so broken, there wasn't really much time to experiment, and they had no choice. Thank Dallas Fuel for this. But when you have opportunities to try different things and force something else, why conform? Just accept your dog shit at it, formulate a plan, and try to make something else work. Even if the comp is objectively wrong, it doesn't mean it's impossible to have success with it as long as they're playing a comp with a real idea and execution behind it. A lack of experimentation throughout Overwatch League history is a conversation in of itself. If you take GOATs, for example, like, was it actually that good, or did no one really bother to try and formulate an idea around it? Shanghai Dragons obviously did in Stage 3, but could it have happened sooner? When teams do this experimentation, it also gives them their own identity. Viewers like to gravitate towards the teams who tried to play their own distinct style. London Spitfire in 2022 and 2023 is a perfect example because they played to their strengths. Again, Shanghai Dragons in 2019 finding the DPS comp that actually countered GOATs and beat the San Francisco Shock because of it. That is a prime example of experimentation going well. That match was a massive upset because Shock was probably the best team at that point. They just dominated the previous stage. San Francisco Shock loses to a team just trying out their own individual style because they aren't good at GOATs. It creates more interesting storylines and people just love this stuff. If you take Namakuji Brothers, if these guys were just trying to play the Doom Echo Tracer comp Korea was playing, other teams would probably mirror it, and no one would care about Namakuji Brothers. Presumably, they just lose. Maybe not as much as they are with the Roadhog comp, depending on how good Nozzle's Doom is and obviously the rest of the other players. Instead, they just stick with Hog. It gives them a true identity. It's entertainment. It's fun. Even if they're shit, instead of being a meta slave, they are going out with the essence of Overwatch, just playing their favorite heroes. They aren't favored to win regardless of who their opponent is because this team comp is ass. This stuff is marketable as shit, so no one can say pulling a Namakuji is not worth it. I mean, look at someone like Among. The guy grew a cult following because all he does is play ball. Even if he has 50 HP and does 1 point of damage, Among will always roll out on that hero. Nozzle is essentially the second coming of Among. But to get back into the true slug experience, we're just going to fast forward into Namakuji's 7th match. This team was 1-5 overall, an unmatchable record, of course. Namakuji got another win under their belt during this against Hayabusa Gaming. No chance at all. They could not compete, but this wasn't a true victory because there was no mirror match. You can't call it a win without that. After this was over, the brothers only had one more chance for someone to step up to the plate and redeem their 0-2 mirror match loss streak. Insomnia was this group of gamers that was up next, who is considered a top Japanese team, only losing to Veryl and Sixblow. For this region, Insomnia is a threatening group of guys. They come in, shocker, up 2-0 against Namakuji. Thankfully, on Colosseo, our ultimate battle commences. The third team who decides to mirror match the Slug Brothers. This match right here was evident. Nozzle and his friends had enough of losing. They ran Insomnia's pockets, getting completely rocked in the mirror. Insomnia couldn't even be honorable about this defeat. They swapped to an Orisa comp halfway through and still lost. You can't do that. You must fight to the death and finish the battle on the Namakuji comp. When you lock it in, you put yourself in that spot, so die on that hill. But these bastards just couldn't handle the heat and they got their shit ran. Insomnia did lose that map, but of course they won the series because they just have better players, and also not playing this comp helps. Even with the atrocious Overwatch Champion Series stage Namakuji had, they were eligible to be in the last chance qualifiers, ending 2-6, a 7-18 map record, and the number 7 seed. One more opportunity to keep their stage alive. They took this really seriously too, apparently. This was their best match to date, winning 3-2 against Arise Project, who 3-0'd Namakuji earlier on in the stage. This was almost a reverse sweep from Arise. They just couldn't keep up with the Nozzle Hog and friends on Colosseo. This is just the Namakuji map. This match was really good. Seeing a win or them taking matches a little bit closer was a lot better than what we saw before from Namakuji. I mean, as I said, this team only won 7 maps throughout the entire stage. This path of destruction made people think Namakuji was on a come up, getting a win against a team who was in their last chance qualifiers. Maybe something's going to be brewing here, but no, this wasn't the case, unfortunately. Our squad got absolutely dominated by Pandia and Six Below, where shockingly Namakuji actually broke the code of using their one-trick comp and played other things, but thankfully realized their mistakes and ended the final map with the classic comp. Their stage ended officially after the 3-0 loss from Six Below. All we learned from this entire stage is their motto, ride with Hog, die with Hog. This team is truly something special. They all revived the Chengdu vibe. I'm glad to see teams like this still coming into the space. Regardless of what was happening, we knew Nozzle was going to play Hog, creating a more interesting viewing experience, really hoping for an upset. Of course, it was unlikely. Hog was not viable at this point. I mean, currently, I'm sure Nozzle would be having a field day. Namakuji's chances of winning would probably be much higher with Hog's state in-game as of me making this, but sadly, this video does not end with good news. Namakuji Brothers put out an updated roster for Stage 2 of Champion Series, which unfortunately Nozzle is not a part of, so our Roadhog Master is now gone from OWCS Japan. I just hope this person sticks to the Namakuji Brothers aura and is a one-trick of something. When it comes to Stage 1, Namakuji Brothers will be forever remembered as the undeserved sequel for the Chengdu Zone. With that said, make sure to leave your thoughts on Namakuji, Nozzle, and his friends in the comments below. Let's rally together, make a petition to get Nozzle back on the team. That's the kind of stuff Change.org is made for. This is what we need in society. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Also check out the playlist I have on screen if you want to see more things about Overwatch players, GOATs, or worst teams of all time. There's a wide variety of things in there and hopefully you enjoy it.